Welcome to the Digitally Dreaming on the Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, Ostrava Steelers. I'm joined today by coach of the Ostrava Steelers and four-time guest of the show, a new record, Gabe Martinez. Gabe, how you doing, coach?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. No. So, yeah, right before, we got started, we were just kind of getting into how that European, how the experience has been coaching European football and obviously living overseas. So, obviously, this episode is kind of going to be a rehash. And obviously, for me, kind of being off the platform for the past 4 months, obviously, the whole man cave setup, has been something that I've been working on as part of renovating and moving my new place. So, yeah, we'll get into all that. But first, let me ask you, how was your fourth?
It was good, man. Not a lot of celebration here in the Czech Republic, but
Yeah.
they love fireworks. It's like a random, Tuesday, Wednesday of hear some fireworks go off in the distance and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure those fireworks not gunshots, but it was chill.
You'd hope, right? You'd hope.
Right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's over here too. I moved from Pleasant to Sacramento. We actually, where I used to live, they have the fairground, and so the fairground, obviously they fire the fireworks off every year on the 4th, right? And then this where I'm at now, there wasn't any. So, but we heard people just throwing it, and I was like, oh my god. So, anyways, that was one of those things. But yeah. So let's kind of just talk about, obviously, with your last time you were on the show, you're actually talking about making the move to Europe back in January. Now here we are in July, right? And essentially, I think the season is pretty much it's wrapped up now, right? You guys,
Yes.
The season's yep.
Right. We had our final playoff game on Sunday. Didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but they have the Czech Bowl 2 weeks from Sunday.
So you had your final playoff game Sunday, meaning yesterday or day before yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Was that a semi? Was that like a conference championship? Was that like a semi? Or what was that?
It was a semifinal. It's a 9-team league. Top 4 made it. We made it in as a 3 seed. We played a team that we had played, the defending champion from last year. We had played the regular season, lost by a point. I risked it, went for 2 during the regular season. We didn't get it. It was close. And then Sunday just wasn't close, unfortunately. It was a tough game, playing on the road, stuff like that. But no, man, it's been a great season.
100%. Yeah, I think you gotta take you gotta take the what's the word from fences, the cookies with the straights, right? The W's with the L's, and you gotta just appreciate the run. So, yeah. Okay, cool. Now, obviously, so talk to me about kind of what that transition was like for you when did you actually start, when did you actually relocate, from Texas to Europe, and how was that transition like initially for you?
I actually didn't make it over here until mid-March, so it was like St. Patrick's Day when I got here.
Yeah.
So, although of course, the flight details worked out. Flew from Lubbock, where I'm from, to Dallas, Dallas to Chicago to Frankfurt, Germany, Germany to Poland. Had to hit 2 airports there, and then we drove over from a small town in Poland across the border, and been here since, man. So it was crazy. It was a long flight. Nothing I was ever done before. So this time going back, at least I'll have going back home to look forward to.
100%, yeah. Ultimately, obviously, that's why that initial kind of transition, like you said, it's a little difficult, right? Kind of coming in there. Obviously, with playing versus coaching is also different, right? I mean, playing, it's almost like you're in the team, you can kind of be in the locker room. Not saying you can as a coach, but it's a different dynamic, right? You can basically, other guests we have on the show who played overseas, such as Kevin Vai, JUCO, right there, right? Kevin Vai, and Coach Andrew Bencourt, Coach Bencourt here, out here in Sac, and so essentially, like for them, it was a different experience. Cody Galea as well. Like, they mentioned, how much fun they had. Just kind of, obviously going out and just being. But I'm sure you also had fun. But talk to me about what that experience like for a coach, because you're the first coach actually, be on the podcast who actually coached overseas. Not saying we had coaches that coached overseas as well, like Coach Chris Dishman, who went to coach NFL Europe. But obviously, at the non-NFL level, but still at the kind of professional in between level. Talk to me about kind of what that transition was like, and how that team bonding was. Obviously before you started, then when you actually got there, and how it was for you to kind of start bonding, kind of getting ingratiated with the team.
Yeah. So I mean, everything happened pretty quickly. Interviews went fast. I think I finally put pen to paper like into January, and then I wasn't able to make it over here for another 45 days. So luckily, of course, everything we do now is digital. So a lot of stuff on Huddle, notes, a lot of virtual team meetings on here. Uh, yeah, man, it was tough, but I kind of knew with the language barrier, there's some guys here that would speak English, some guys that wouldn't. Every time we'd have a team meeting, whether it be coaches or players, it was always pretty silent. Not a whole lot of questions, not a whole lot of comments. So, it's just kind of how they're built here. They're just kind of shut their mouth, put their head down, go to work kind of guys. So that was awesome. First day I got here, touchdown. We had practice that evening, so I dropped my bags, went to practice. It was like 25 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing, and we're just out there going right to work, and it was good, man. Met everybody. Probably 90% of the team speaks English pretty well, so that was nice. Some of the older guys, because the way it's structured is it's professional in the sense that, of course, they bring in an import coach for the most part across all the Czech teams, and they also have different rules, different leagues as far as how many imports they can bring in as well. So our league only allows one American import. Most of our quarterbacks. So ours is a quarterback, a guy from New York. He's been doing it for a few years overseas, and he is who we had here before I signed. Great guy, had a great season. But then the rest of it's pretty similar to semi-pro. You and I have that background. We know what it is to have guys that have families and jobs, and then they're coming off of whatever straight to practice and traveling to games, especially away games, stuff like that. So, it was cool. It was a big difference in the fact that you're halfway around the world and you don't know anybody and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still football. I taught all my playbook virtually, in Huddle and Zoom meetings, stuff like that. And by the time I got here, they had it down. Everything that we had installed, all my calls, all my terminology, stuff like that, they knew it already. There was no need for additional teaching. So it was good, man. It's been great. We got right to work. We had a camp that first weekend when I got here, like 2 days later in Poland, like a 2-day camp. And then we had another camp that following weekend with a lower tier team here in Czech Republic. So we hit the ground running.
Awesome. Talk to me about kind of what the differences are between the European game and you mentioned semi-pro, indoor, your last team, right? The West Texas Warbirds, right? You may be going back, not sure, right? Essentially talking about kind of what the nuances, and those little schematic and kind of the pace and everything that's different, that you see or you witness now with 1 year of European ball under your belt versus the American game.
A lot of it's pretty similar. We play by like NCAA rules, so all that's very cut and dry as far as 1 foot in, overtime rules, all that kind of stuff. Quarters are only 12-minute quarters, so sometimes the games can kind of fly by. But they do a good job. I think almost all the fields that we played on were really, really good grass or turf. They actually built a new complex here for our home field, so we got to get on that probably by like week 5. Brand new turf and nice stadium, had like beer vendors and sausages and stuff like that for the fans, and it was a cool atmosphere, man. It was really cool. Not a whole lot of differences when it comes down to the actual game. My big thing that I've always been accustomed to is just doing a lot of the work on film, going through and breaking down X's and O's from past games, from our stuff, from the opponent's stuff, and going through and making sure we get all that reported and see tendencies and make sure we implement that in practice. So man, it really wasn't a whole lot to transition to. Of course, you have the same old thing with guys that I can't make it today. We're on vacation, or have to work late, or whatever. So you're like, crap, all right. So sometimes you might
Yeah.
not see the full group until Saturday or Sunday whenever we play. But we were great, man. They asked me whenever I first interviewed if I had experience, of course, as a DC, and then specifically wanted me to work with their defensive backs. So I think all of our DBs are like 22 years and younger, young kids, and they were really, really harping that they needed work. I got here and I was like, okay, like they're raw, but they're definitely still talented. We have a couple guys that are maybe like 6', 6'1", some young safeties that are pretty athletic. So we got right to work. I'd like to, try to get some of the stats now that the season's over with, as far as like pass defense, stuff like that, because I thought we did really well. Uh, my number one corner had probably like 6 or 7 interceptions all season. Uh, we played really well as a defense, so that was really cool. And I think it was kind of a mission accomplished. We wanted to get back into playoffs to the semifinals. We got there. We really wanted to go further, but we'll touch on it here a little bit. But there were some issues with like visas and long-term stuff not being illegal aliens here that prevented us from going a little bit further.
Oh man, more or less the same. The issues we have here, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, cool. No, it's great to hear. Kind of, congrats on the season, congrats on the success. That you have with that group. So now I'm looking forward. Kind of, what do you foresee now with with the Steelers, and kind of what do you foresee as your role as you evolve the team, or kind of how the team grows from here? Obviously, great playoff run. Once again, congrats on that, making the semifinals. Where do you see this? Where do you see the Steelers going? Where do you see like the Ostrava Steelers going? Where do you see yourself going? Within that role, within that team.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the sky's the limit. This is a league that is pretty much up and coming. The way it's structured here, you kind of have the top league, which is the ELF. Kind of a lot of the guys are ex-D1, ex-NFL guys playing there, coaching there. Then you have like the GFL, which is kind of that next step below. I was talking about like import rules. They usually have like 4 to 6 imports per team, so you have a lot more diversity, a little bit more talent. And then you have leagues like us. You have Austria and Italy and everything in between, right? So it's kind of where we're at right now. I think we're trying to just still get up to that point to where we're going to be one of those top 2 dogs. There's a team out of Prague, and there's a team that we played that we ultimately lost to that have been kind of back and forth champions for a while. So we played the Prague team game 1. We lost by, I think it was just like 7 or 8 points. It was a close game. And like I said, the other team, we lost by 1 the first time. So that was whenever we were at, full power and all that kind of stuff. So I think from here, it's just continue growing the sport. We have 40, 45 guys at the team, pretty dedicated. Everyone's, for the most part, young and still developing. We've got a lot of guys that have been recruited and invited to play for the national team here for the country from this season. So that kind of exposure is great. The Prague team does a really good job because they've had an American coach who's actually relocated here, and they do a good job of social media and just branding, and they actually send some of their youth guys back across to I can't remember what college is. I think it's in Michigan, and they send them there for like a month in the summer and let them go through camp and stuff like that. So that's always great. We're really fortunate to have some really good guys. Our left tackle, he's younger, probably 23. He's got, of course, full NCAA eligibility, so he was getting recruited to go to a team in Tennessee to go play there in college. We had a tackle, or right tackle, being recruited to go play in the ELF as the top league here. So stuff like that, man. Provided some consistency. That was one thing that they really wanted to push when they made the hires, that they wanted something not just for a season. They were looking for like a 2 to 3 year commitment to where, provided you have success, that you can actually come back, get more ingrained to the culture, the team, the top to bottom organization. So I look forward to it, man. I mean, hopefully, we did enough to be welcomed back next year, and we'll go from there.
100%. Yeah. No, it sounds great. It sounds like there's a lot. It seems like the ceiling is pretty much uncapped right now, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of different directions that that either the Steelers, the Ostrava Steelers can go, and obviously with the surrounding teams, in the neighboring regions, in the EU, right? I think there's a lot of different opportunities there, and which is great to know, because obviously anyone listening, maybe don't know about Europe. That's the point of this, right? European, football in the NFL, after the NFL Europe dissolved, right? No one really knew that it was still continuing, but it's still continuing, right? And it's continuing at a very high level and at a very rapid rate. I think growth is definitely paramount, or it's growth is at an all-time high right now. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, you see more and more guys. They'll use sites like Podium and Euro Players to get on there, and they put their profile out, and then next thing you know, they're playing in Hungary or Romania or Australia or Japan or anywhere here in Europe, Mexico, Brazil. All those places have a lot of opportunities to where they'll bring in 4, 6, 8 internet guys from the States to go play and kind of be like a stud for that team. And a lot of these guys, when they're young, they make it a career, because when you're here, you're paid, you have your housing, you have your food, you have insurance, you have sometimes transportation, so you're set up for success. If you're a player coming here, and a lot of the coaches too, if you're young, unattached, then it's really easy just to come and do this full time. I'm not as young as a lot of the guys doing it, but I got a family back home. I'm lucky to have an employer that can work virtually just from my laptop here, and still clock in from like 3 p.m. to midnight and put my hours in and make the money for stuff back home. So it's good, man. It's a great experience, and guys that want to see the world and keep playing.
100%. No, I think remote working is key, right? But also, kind of to your point, obviously there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different directions that it's going, and the way that you've been able to work it out, it's pretty commendable. Obviously, some people wouldn't even take that chance, to kind of pack up everything and go overseas for, for lack of a better term, a low paying, coaching opportunity, right? But essentially, the opportunities that you see are bigger than that, right? It's more so just being able to grow the game, and I think that's awesome, So kudos to you on that, Coach. And so, now we can transition over to kind of, with the NFL. There's been a lot of free agent kind of headlines. I talked about it on the last episode, episode 81, which will go up pretty soon. But, obviously, my Niners, that's one thing with Trey Lance and Jimmy that, is going on. But what have you been paying attention to during the NFL offseason? Like, is there any kind of, key free agent kind of signings or any kind of, offseason storylines you've been kind of following? Anything that really piqued your interest?
Yeah, I mean, the entire free agency every year is my favorite thing, between that and the draft. I like stuff getting shaken up. I like, the big name players going here to there. Devontae Adams to the Raiders, Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. Of course, San Francisco hasn't really made too many moves away from, Jimmy G or
Trey Lance.
No, the receiver.
Deebo Samuel. Yeah.
So, that kind of stuff's always looming in the distance. So I love it, man. Usually whenever it comes time for like free agency to start, like those first couple of days are crazy. Days leading up to the draft, day one on draft day, all the trades and stuff to see who's going to get who's going to make a move to bring someone in, or, sell the farm to bring somebody else in for a pick or a proven player. I love it, man. It's my favorite time of year just to see how organizations are trying to improve, or some guys are doing everything they can just to hold what they have close to the vest, because they don't want to lose that big piece. But it's sweet, man. It's this I think a lot of people have said the craziest offseason that has happened probably ever. So it'll be really cool to see once camps start here pretty quick this month, and preseason and all that kind of stuff, to see how these teams end up faring with the moves they make.
Yeah, no, I think Devontae to Oakland, or sorry, not Oakland, Las Vegas. I'm still in the California state of mind.
Yeah, same.
Devontae with the Las Vegas Raiders, it's going to be interesting, because it's going to be Josh McDaniels' first season there with Derek Carr. One of my other friends, we're talking about this, the other day. He thinks that, Derek Carr with Josh McDaniels could have a resurgent season before the Adams signing. Now you have Adams, you have a kind of go-to guy outside of Waller. I mean, it really shakes up the dynamic of that offense, right? And I mean, ultimately, kind of, the last kind of official guess, because the last episode which I co-hosted with my boy Parsa, the last episode I had before that, which was in March, Ryan Harris, Denver Broncos, his signed autographs over there on your wall. He basically, was saying the same thing. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can look out for. This is right before Russell Wilson got signed, to the Broncos, right? So, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Matt Ryan to the Colts. I mean, Deshaun with Cleveland, who's going to start week 1. Yeah, there's a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of different narratives and storylines, a lot of things to look out for this coming offseason. Obviously, Jimmy, will he still be on the roster for the Niners, before week 1, because obviously you don't move up to the third, I said this on my last episode, but you don't move up to the third overall pick to on a guy you're not going to start, eventually kind of more, assume more sooner than later, right? So essentially, these are types of things to really look out for. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, obviously. But, let's also talk about the USFL Championship. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it because you had your game. But USFL Championship yesterday on Sunday, right? I don't know. First of all, did you get a chance to see it or no?
I didn't get a chance to watch the actual game. I've been keeping up a lot of the, Twitter stuff and just reports and all that kind of stuff. I had a few clients that I represent that were in the USFL draft that didn't end up making it onto a team. But that was cool, man. It was, they had a good, successful first year. I hope, revenue and stuff like that makes it to where they can do it again next season. But it was the Stallions that won. Is that correct?
Yep, Birmingham Stallions. Yep. Birmingham Stallions. You're good.
Their running back was that Turpin. Is that right?
Yeah, I think Turpin. Yeah.
Yeah, he got some love over here because he was with he was formerly with the ELF team, the Panthers, out of Poland. And so he, of course, did huge things here, and then he's back in the States doing that now. So I think it's awesome, man. Anything that, helps further these guys' careers, gives them another chance to get on the field, make some money. I know payroll-wise that they had a pretty good payday, especially guys that made it into the championship game and won. But yeah, I mean, it gives life to that league. Like I said, it gives the options to other guys. It gives opportunities for these new leagues like the MLFB coming up later this month and next month, that it'll actually be something viable going forward.
Absolutely. And actually, I apologize. Robert Turbin is not in the USFL. He was in the Fan Control Football League last season. But the Birmingham Stallions. Sorry?
Yeah. Another running back that I can't remember who it is. It's
they have, Tony Brooks James, Bobby Holly, CJ Marable, and Bo Scarborough. Yeah. So not sure if it's any of those guys. But
yeah, I see so much stuff's going through the Twitter feed and Instagram feed that it sticks there for a second and it goes away.
Yeah, I actually got to watch the opening game against New Jersey Generals week 1. And so I think it was I think Mike Riley was coach of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Mike Riley was the coach, over at Oregon, the CFL, and he was coaching the New Jersey Generals. And then Skip Holtz, Lou Holtz's son, was the coach of the Birmingham Stallions, right? And I saw Daryl Moose Johnson, talking about it, on FS1 the other day. And he's like, he's all like, it's like it gives us this whole, the whole experience we had in our first season. Having a successful first one, it sets them up, to get more sponsorship deals and more television deals and more network deals moving forward. Because even though the fan attendance was kind of low, I mean, I remember I watched one game. What's his name? God, the Denver Broncos backup quarterback, Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch was starting a game and he dominated. And essentially, but there was no one in the arena. It was completely empty, right? Similar to semi-pro, similar to indoor arena game, which is not AFL. Similar to anything that's not like the top tier marquee premier kind of leagues. Not to say that the week 1 game between New Jersey and Birmingham, the stands were pretty well packed, for that week 1 opener. And for the championship game, I mean, there was also somewhat similar of an attendance, but I mean, I just thought it was interesting to note that, obviously with the attendance, being what it is, usually the teams that and these leagues that fold, it's because either revenue sharing is not kind of defined clearly enough when they start the league, or just the network deals, right? The revenue sharing rate, or just because they're not able to get the right turnout. We talked about this I think last time, and also the previous time you're on the podcast. I think it was just one of those things where it's just like kind of running your football at the non kind of premier elite level, right? It's just one of those issues you have to kind of think about and try to work through. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, I mean, yeah, kudos to the USFL for having a great season, their first run. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, there's a lot of good talent. Yeah, I think Braxton Miller. I think Braxton Miller was on one of the teams, one of the games I saw. Was that right? Braxton Miller.
I think he was quarterback for a time.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. Was he on the? No, he wasn't. Never mind. I thought he was. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, some other Ohio State kind of Michigan quarterback. I know. Yeah, because there's yeah, like I said, Jamar. What's his name on the Stallions? Jamar. Look it up. Sorry, I have to Google all these guys' names. I wasn't following the USFL listeners as much as I should have been. I apologize for that. I was just kind of in between so many other things with the house renovation and moving and then renovating, right? But anyways, you can see the background and you can see the backdrop. Hopefully, you see why it was worth it. But let me make sure I check the roster again. So Skip Holtz, head coach, and then we had Alex Mago, Jamar Smith. That's his name. Yeah, he was pretty good. He was a starter, right? Yep, he was a starter. I think I saw him. When did they played some other team? I want to say. So I saw the New Jersey Generals game. Did they play another team with Paxton Lynch? What game was that? Was it New Orleans, Houston, Tampa Bay Bandits, Michigan Panthers? Yep, that's the team. Michigan Panthers. Jeff Fisher, coach.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeff Fisher is the head coach of the Michigan Panthers. Paxton Lynch was the quarterback of that team.
Okay.
And if I look up his stats, he started 3 games. He was 2-1 as a starter. So he had 65% completion, 550 yards, 5 TDs, 4 picks. So it's not really going with TDI-T ratio. But yeah, I mean, if you look compared to his NFL numbers, actually no, he had a pretty good season in 2017 in Denver. He had 45. Well, he only played in 2 games, but he basically had 66.7% completion out of 30 out of 45 attempts. So and looking this up again, he had 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. Yeah, that TDI-T ratio is killer. So,
yeah.
But he also had 2 rushing touchdowns on the season too. So he was the backup primarily, but he played that game because I think the starter was out, and it was starter. Who was the starter? Let's see. Was it Shea Patterson? Shea Patterson was selected first overall, but then he was sent to Breakers. Breakers. No, it wasn't Shea. It was. Let me go down. It was Eric Berreri, Josh Love. Okay, Josh Love of the Michigan Panthers. Is he related to Jordan Love? I don't know if he is. Anyways, that's also another thing that I was talking about. Is Trey Lance going to be more Aaron Rodgers-esque? Because some GMs are saying like, oh, we see elements of Aaron Rodgers with his pocket presence, his poise, or is he just like another Jordan Love? So I mean, anyways, USFL, congrats again on a great season. Mike Riley, great coaching staff, right, on all the teams. Right, Skip Holtz, Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher Super Bowl pedigree, right? Mike Riley, CFL rings. Skip Holtz, college football, son of, Skip Lou Holtz, college football, Hall of Fame, and Skip obviously did a great job, USF, and so yeah, I mean, it was a great season, I mean, the games I did catch, the 2 I caught, were pretty fun to watch, so we'll see what happens,
Yeah, like you said, ultimately it comes down to television money, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's where the majority of those financials come from. All this stuff as far as merchandise and fan attendance and all, it's great, but with them doing it in a bubble, it's not really going to go to the individual markets, right? So you're looking for for them to be associated with Fox and to begin with, you're one, that's awesome to have that. I think they were streamed on Fox and NBC for a few other games, so that's huge, man. That kind of stuff will make it long lasting, at least to go do it again. They're going to have pressure from XFL coming in next year. I think they have their draft November. They have a supplemental draft coming up in January. So that'll push them, because you're going to start having a lot of these a lot of non-fall football leagues competing with each other, because you're going to have CFL, XFL, USFL, MFLB. I have guys that have already attended like XFL showcases and different things, and it's always like who can get to who first. If you see a CFL scout already talking to this receiver, well, I'm going to go ahead and move on to this other guy because he's not being talked to yet. So it's all good, man. Like I said, there's so many guys that are left on the market once NFL camps close or rosters close, and they're quality guys, and you have all different avenues now. You have a bunch of stuff in the States where you can keep everything homegrown. You have tons of things overseas, different countries that they can go and still do the same thing there. So, I think that's the reason why The Rock made sure to get into it the way he has. He's been so hands-on with it because he realizes there's just, the whole supply and demand thing. We have a ton of supply. We just don't have much demand. So with them coming in and hopefully doing a good job, and if all these things can keep momentum and stay legit going forward for a number of years, then it's nothing but a good thing, because you guys that not everyone can play the league, obviously.
Absolutely, no. And, that's not a question of talent. It can be, some guys, they get an opportunity. I heard the announcer talk about it. Like a lot of these guys, they were all NFL talent at one point, and then basically something came along the way. Either they made it, or they got cut, or they just didn't pan out because they weren't good enough, and they're here to kind of have a second opportunity. But also, like you said, like for me, like others, like we can't, we're not going to go to the NFL by any stretch of the imagination. So it's good to have other leagues, to have obviously Premier Leagues or USFL, XFL, right? And CFL is a one level above, in my opinion. I don't think they really have much competition with USFL, XFL, but it's going to be the USFL and XFL kind of competing, duking it out here domestically, and then they still, I don't know if is fan control football still a thing? I don't even know.
Yeah, they ended their season probably about a month ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of hard because unless you're in one of those markets and invested in actually going to see them live, I think they were like on Twitch and something like that, and Marshawn Lynch owned a team, and a couple other NFL guys on some teams, and had a former player that was with us down in West Texas. He went and he played and did a great job. Had a really good season, and like I said, it's just another option, right? You have FCF, you have all these leagues with indoor right now that are continuing just getting bigger, and it's kind of like a peaks and valleys type thing, to where you're going to have indoor is always going to have that 2 or 3 teams that ends up folding for the season even starts, and then 1 or 2 teams will have some type of like financial crisis during the season, and then it's like the teams that are the most consistent and reliable are the ones that push for a championship. So I know the CIF, they just finished up their season. Salina Liberty went back and reclaimed their throne, beating the Beef, who won it last year. So it's cool, man. I mean, I'm blessed to work with an agency that represents a lot of guys and all across. I had some guys out of Mexico. I had some guys in indoor FCF. The IFL is still going right now. They have a few weeks left before playoffs. So, I mean, you're never going to hear me complain about too much football.
Yeah, exactly. No, never a bad thing, right? It's never a bad thing. Yeah. Obviously, the AIF right there, that was also a thing there too. I mean, it's just one of those things, I mean, it's good to have these, opportunities, these other leagues, if they're not, I actually had a handyman come over the other day where he was like, yeah, he saw my garage. He's like, wow, look at all this. Like, he's like, and he said, for anyone who didn't make it to the NFL, like, I mean, this is pretty remarkable, to have, I mean, you have that claim to fame. I was like, yeah, I appreciate that, to your point, if there's more leagues, it gives more guys opportunities to show what they can do. And I love it. Absolutely love it. I just, I'm looking forward to continuing seeing, the expansion and growth domestically and abroad. Kind of what you mentioned about Mexico, Japan, I mean, I've had guys, my teammates, as well, they went overseas, they played over there, guys, I've had, minimal time coaching, they've also played overseas too, like, and obviously, like, connections like you, basically who have gotten opportunities to coach overseas, right? So I think it's just one of those things, I mean, wherever you can get an opportunity, you just go and pursue it, and it's good to see more football. And, actually, I have another question to ask you. I'm not sure, did you see American Underdog, the Kurt Warner movie?
Yeah, I watched it for all of it.
Yeah, I watched it too, and I watched it recently. So, I have Kurt Warner's autograph over there, in the corner. But anyways, so I have Kurt Warner's autograph, and obviously Kurt Warner is considered the arena football GOAT, like the greatest arena football player of all time, considering everything, not just the arena career, but also the NFL, kind of transition. I mean, he had a great one with the Iowa Barnstormers for those 3 seasons. Then he went to Europe, right, to play in the NFL Europe. And then he came to the NFL finally with the Rams, and I think the whole movie was just one of those. It's a great story because it talks about kind of guys who have the talent, in the Arena Football League. When Kurt Warner, Zach, what's his name, Zach Levy, the actor, basically says, to Anna Paquin, like, yeah, like the Arena Football League when he's approached for the AFL. He's like, yeah, he's like, the Arena Football League really seems like it's a circus. He just writes off, it's a circus. It's not even anything you take seriously, right? And then the rest was history when he finally decided to go pursue full force. But it's funny because I think I read a story like kind of like what we have limitations in semi-pro, limitations in arena, limitations in overseas. Like sometimes we don't have the funding, right? The sponsorships to get the medical staff and everything like that. So he said during one practice, like one of his teammates, his calf, I think his calf or his knee went out, one or the other. And basically his wife at that time, Brenda, she was basically in nursing school, and so she basically they had to bring her out and look at the guy's knee and start work on it as well as she could. So I mean, it was crazy, but I mean that's part of the nature of the business, and I love it.
Yeah, it was awesome. I thought it was a really good story. I got to know the current head coach for the Barnstormers before he got announced as the head coach this year. That was pretty cool, and I think it brings a lot of light. I know my former team down in Odessa, the West Texas Warbirds, they rented out a theater. They went and took the team to go watch it and stuff like that. So it's just more eyes. It's more eyes for arena in general, for football in general, but then it helps drive the fact home that these things can be stepping stools for each other. You can climb that ladder. We had a guy that played with us and won the championship with us with the Warbirds. He got signed to IFL. IFL team folded before the season started. Made it to another IFL team, Sioux Falls Storm. He played there really well, had injury that kept him out a few weeks, and then here recently got signed by the Edmonton Elks of the CFL. So all within a 2-year span, you go from graduating college to playing arena in a bull riding, rodeo arena in Odessa, Texas, to going to Washington, not working out, going to Sioux Falls, getting injured, and then now I think he had his first practice last week there in Canada. So it can happen, man. I've seen it too many times to sit there and tell guys that they can't do it.
100%. No, you can't tell guys, what they can and cannot do. But sometimes it's you need to tell them that because it's a chip on the shoulder. And some guys like Kurt Warner, some guys like your guy who went to IFL, guys like me who couldn't even get on JUCO roster. We're going to take whatever opportunity you give us. And we're going to pursue full force. And guys who some guys like her who have the ability and just the will, to overcome all the circumstances. And other guys you've coached, I'm sure guys who I always play with, who just have that determination. They will find a way to make it work. Like my college coach, right? My first college coach Keith Del Williams, who's now the Ravens, right? I mean, it's a process. It's not anything that's overnight, but it's just everyone's resolve and their will to keep going. And that's the beauty of football. To have it at every level kind of enables those opportunities for guys to get and hopefully achieve the pinnacle. And if you're not, then you can feel that you can look back and enjoy the run. So
yeah, I mean, everyone has an expiration date, right, on this football career. Coaching. So it's one of those things where like, hey, like you don't want to look back and be like, man, I didn't show up to that tryout, or I didn't want to, leave my girlfriend to go, across the country or across the world or wherever to go, put on the pads one more time. And, some guys, there's a lot of guys that are like that, they have that thing to where they can never let go because they never tried. But no, we're lucky to know a lot of guys that, tried and succeeded. And, if they can inspire, one more person to go and give it their all to see what they can do in those types of, different environments, then why not? Life's short, dude. I mean, you don't want to just sit in your bubble and never try.
100%. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to, take the leap, right? And I think that's a perfect way to close. So talk to me in closing. What do you want the viewers and listeners to part with? Anything.
Biggest thing is just keep helping grow the sport. Right now, I think there's a lot of competition with newer generations of parents and athletes that are trying to kind of get away from the game in general.
Yeah.
This is a game that not only is organized violence on a football field, but it's also something that helps develop someone for life. The camaraderie of having a team around you, of having coaches in place to help, guide you through not just drills on the field, but stuff that you're going through once you leave that facility. It's something that I feel is very necessary to at least be associated with and give it a chance to succeed. Not everyone's right for football. Football's not right for everybody. But if it's something that somebody, is passionate about, the medical side, go be a trainer. If you're passionate about coaching and have a knack for the X's and O's of it, pursue that. Volunteer to do it. Go and put your time in for free somewhere to help move up. Commentating, sports writing, all that kind of stuff. There's so many different things you can do with a sports management background that you can still be associating with the sport in some way, not just because you're not putting on a helmet and getting to run down and get crushed by somebody. So, no, that's just, I'm happy to be an ambassador of the sport. Yeah, I'm blessed to have come here away from my family, my friends, and come and make new family and friends here. And I just want guys to be aware that these leagues are opportunities for you to go and further your career. Check us out. Check out our Czech league. Check out our team, the Ostrava Steelers. If you're a football player that is done with college and you're interested in anything like that, check out the agency I work for, Pro Level Agents. Check us out on social media, our website, prolevelaagents.com. Fill out a player questionnaire, and we can talk. We can talk about getting your foot into indoor or overseas or XFL or wherever. So, always willing to help.
100%. No, definitely great. Great parting words of wisdom. Anyone who's trying to get involved, definitely reach out to Coach. And, obviously, Coach, thanks once again for being on the show. You're the most regular guest on the show. And, anyone else. So once again, if you want to find out more about the Ostrava Steelers or kind of, like I said, want to get involved in our game, how can they reach you or how can they get more information?
Yeah, just reach out. Like I said, it's Ostrava Steelers CZ for our website. It's here in the Czech Republic. Ostrava Steelers on Facebook and Instagram. My socials, just Gabriel Martinez on Facebook, Coach G Martinez on Instagram, Coach G Martinez on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure we can. I'll tag some stuff whenever you post it and repost it and stuff like that. So all across there, keep giving my boy Ali here his love that he deserves and support him. We'll get this podcast back and push you up, and maybe I could be on a few more dozen times before it's all said and done.
Back, but we never left.
No, I'm saying I can come back.
Exactly, 100%. No, definitely. No, we definitely, you're more welcome to come back anytime. Once again, Coach, thank you for your time. Congrats again on the season. Wish you all the best, and stay safe, travel safe, and best luck to you, brother.
Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon.